Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wandering Podcast, where we take advisement from outside the box. I'm Rihanna Ritter, your host. I'm an intuitive, sexuality, and authentic expression coach. Are you an accomplished professional who plays the part of having it all figured out? Who's strong for everyone else but feels lonely, misunderstood, like you can't tell anybody the truth about how stressed you are, how not passionate you are about your life and all that you've created? I guide my clients to deep, lasting fulfillment. I re-engage them with their bodies, their pleasure, their desire. I help them align to enjoy fulfillment and prosperity in all areas of their lives. Hello, everyone. My guest today is Simon Phillips of the e-commerce Accelerator, which helps brands build elite in-house teams to scale profitability. Welcome, Simon.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm excited to come on and chat today about all the things.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear about your journey. How did you get into, the current business? It sounds like you had, a $1 million brand at 23 that you exited, and that's pretty extraordinary. So I'd love to hear how you got started in all of this.
It's a pretty long story, but I can try and I'll do the short version. I started in e-commerce when I was 19. Um, I was into bodybuilding at the time, and I got these little singlets and I started selling them online. This is back in the day with Facebook ads where you press boost and money would just sort of funnel into your bank account. You didn't have to do too much hard work. Yeah, it was a great time, and scaled that brand, sold half for 1.1 mil at 23, kind of like boy genius status. And I didn't at the time fully understand what I was a part of. So I kind of took the credit for it. It grew my ego to some degree. By 27, I had destroyed that brand, lost everything. And so that was pretty foundational for me in terms of developing my career because I'd made all this money myself, and I had all this capital, and I was like, right, I better do business the right way. So I got a whole bunch of agencies, and I had Ernst and Young strategic consultants and all this stuff. And so they all made money while I lost everything. And then at the end of it, like well-intentioned people, look me in the eye and they're like, no, we did a good job. We fulfilled our deliverables. And I'm going, yeah, but excuse my French, like I'm fucked. Like I've lost everything. Um, and I could tell they meant it, like I could tell they meant the idea, like, well, we fulfilled our deliverables. So that was kind of like, okay, there's a structural issue here that thing can happen, and well-intentioned, good, smart people can be like, that's how it is. So I had no money to start a brand, had to pay my parents back, had a couple of $100,000 mortgage on their home that I couldn't bankrupt out of or anything. So there's a lot of pressure. Built an agency, did really well with that, and got scaled that sort of to 85 team members off the back of a performance model. Like if we don't make money, uh, like if you don't make money, we won't make money either. And did that for a good few years, and then learned kind of my second big lesson in business, I suppose. But we brought a bunch of corporate leadership into the business, and corporate business and startup business, two very different things, like chalk and cheese.
Yeah.
And harder to pivot, etc. Ended up, yeah, sadly not doing very well with the agency either. Lost a whole bunch more money. And that is where the e-commerce accelerator kind of comes into the story. So we'd built this product which helped brands build in-house teams, and it was a lead generation mechanism for our agency. And as the market started to shift and it started to get more and more difficult and the agency started to not do so well, I went like, that's our primary product. That's what I like to do. And because we could help everyone at that point. As Facebook ads started to get harder and harder, it was very difficult to help smaller brands actually achieve their outcomes. There wasn't enough meat in the sandwich, as it were. And so, yeah, then we pivoted to the Accelerator. Now we have a small team. Small team, there's about 15 of us and 15 coaches. And yeah, we build in-house teams for brands, big and small. Our sweet spot's probably taking brands from like 100 grand a month to 1 million a month. And we've done that time and time again. And yes, I learned a lot through the journey. I like to say I learned a lot more on the way down than I did on the way up, because on
It's
my
usually
kind
the
of like
case.
sky, what's that?
That's usually the case. Yeah.
Yeah, it's usually the case. Like on the way up, you're kind of like, oh, how good am I? I'm awesome. Everything I touch turns to gold. You're not really taking much notice of it. I'm a genius. And then on the way down, you're like noting everything. Like, how is this happening? What's going on? So yeah, I feel like personally, I'm really grateful for the journey I've had, because it developed a much nicer, aligned individual internally. And I feel like I became a better business person through it. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when you're
kind of the story of the
23,
day.
it's pretty normal to be cocky and think that you know everything. I mean,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think we're all there at that age. But
yeah.
so would you say that you help brands build their own teams because of the experience that you had with outsourcing a lot of your decision, like bringing in these outside teams?
Yeah, well, I thought the idea with the agency initially, and um was I want to build what would have saved me. So that was the idea. And then I actually met my mentor. I met my mentor Brad Lindsay after losing the brand. He kind of took me under his wing. I was like, I'll give you half the agency if you help me build it. And so we built it together. And yeah, that idea was really strong, but and not knowing what you don't know, I didn't like the agency model at scale. It's it's pretty difficult to it's nearly impossible to do right by everyone at all times, because it's basically an hours game. Like, how do I get you the result with the least amount of hours? And the incentives aren't really aligned. Like, you pay me the profit shares are really hard to manage. You do really well on a profit share. The client goes, oh, I'm paying you too much. What's going on here? So then you go to retainers, and that's like, yeah, not an aligned incentive. There's a flat rate. You make more money by minimizing input into the account. So we kind of learned that along the way. And then this model where you take the systems and the capability and the intellectual property, and you plug that into a business, and then you empower them to, you know, hire the outsourced team or the internal team. There's a lot more control and aligned incentives from that internal team, and then we're paid to set that up. And so, yeah, it's just I think the main part is the incentive, actually. And you, instead of going to a brand and going, all right, cool, let me try and learn all your product knowledge, your entire brand understanding, your entire customer, and then scale you based on this flat retainer. It's like, let me give you this understanding of technical Facebook ads, set up a creative pipeline, optimize your website, and then you make it happen. So it's like there's a smaller gap to fill setting up a brand with the technical expertise to run their performance marketing at a high level than there is um than there is an agency coming in and learning everything there is to know about a business that's been running for 7 years. So I think that's the big advantage. And probably the other main piece is like you work with an agency, and you kind of rent the system, and then when it's done, you're like, okay, what next? And you have to go to something else. Whereas in this model, you own it when it's done. You've got that capability in-house. And it's a tougher economic climate, it's not as easy as it was. And so, you know, it's I think brands more and more are not willing to just work with an agency, cross their fingers, pray like this is going to be one of the good ones. You know, you want to be able to control your own destiny.
Yeah, a lot of, I mean, I've worked with different agencies and some were highly effective and others just there was nothing. So it's really scary for people to spend money on marketing. And especially like people have a pretty negative relationship with marketing because of how many ads we see every day. And, you know, we've all had those salesy, pushy, salesy people that just really didn't feel good. You know, they weren't out for our best interest, they were out for theirs. And so I see, I have an accounting business, and my clients struggle the most with marketing and just getting visible and because they don't see the return on investment so much of the time.
Yeah. And once bitten, twice shy. But the amount of stories I have, I hear from brands where they're like, "Yeah, I'm on my fourth agency." I'm like, at what point do you do you go like, "All right, I'm not running this gauntlet again." Um, and it is tough, especially the B2B marketing space. $7,000 million worth of value plus these bonuses. There's a wait list. Get in. It's shutting down for the next 24 hours. Oh, we've expanded it. Like it's just this whole clusterfuck. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear. I shouldn't be
Yeah,
swearing.
you're allowed to
Um,
cuss.
of like just guru marketing stuff and funnels and all of that. And it worked for like a long time. But I think it's just people have seen it enough and it's like, okay, like enough of the stuff, like enough of all of that hoopla. Um, and and then yeah, you get on the call and it's kind of like pain point agitation. Like if you sign up now, you can save 2 grand. That whole thing is just, yeah, I don't know. It's icky. I don't like it. I don't do it. I'm just kind of like, hey, here's what we do. Here's what it is. Um, and just try to be brutally straightforward. And I think there's an opportunity right now for businesses or brands that that never wanted to get into any of that sort of stuff because it's kind of played out. I think coming in and just having like a really plain promise with like a really high level service delivery and or a really great product and some awesome testimonials almost cuts through the noise because it's not all of that crazy wild stuff. And yeah, I think even if you're not going to the thing I say to brands and business owners is like don't hire an agency until you know enough to be dangerous, because whether you're going to do it for yourself, or whether you're going to work with a freelancer or an agency, unless you're in it, unless you can have productive conversations and hold that person, that technical expert to account, you're never going to get the most out of it, right? So I just feel like there's a requirement at this point with digital marketing to at least know enough to be like, I could take it, like have walk away from the table energy, and like be able to hold someone to account instead of, those everyone's had that experience when you're on a call and like your revenue numbers are like your business metrics are down and it's not good. And there's this deck being presented to you with like lots of terms and 3-letter acronyms and stuff being thrown around and it's like positive and you're like it doesn't feel right here, you know maybe something gets talked about the economy or there's an election. There's always like these reasons and stories, but when you know enough you're like, yeah, but like isn't our like cost per click just up 40% and then we're spending inefficiently here? And it changes the engagement, right? Like at least you either get out of a bad engagement fast, they go, oh, these people know it, know what the game is. Like I better pull my socks up, try harder. Or if you've got a good one, like, oh yeah, that's a good point. Sorry, you're right. Well, we could do X, Y, Z. Like either way, it works.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So being empowered enough to look at your financials and notice it's not even necessarily that you don't have the understanding that it's not effective, it's that you're too afraid to say something. Um, you're in a people pleasing energy and you don't want the agency to not like you, and so you don't say the thing that needs to be said.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the worst. And those are the people that just like often deserve success the most. They're like kind, like not wanting to upset anyone. But ultimately it's not about it's about the health of the business and then about your why and like why do you have the business? Is it to feed yourself and your family? Well, yeah, let's please them.
Yeah.
Like we need to we got to please the people downstream of all the effort that we're putting in, not this moment on a call with an account manager. And I always say with that sort of stuff, if like I do a bit of coaching work with I always just say like be friendly on the call, send an email after. Just be or
Yeah,
more like say all the things you want to say that are going to feel scary in an email up front in the agenda. And then one of my tricks I do when I'm having an awkward Zoom call, this is pretty funny. I shouldn't say this, but I actually don't look at the Zoom. I bring up a browser window, like maybe even Twitter or something. Like right now, I'm staring at Google and I'll look at you like I'm talking to you, but I'm actually not looking at the face. And it gives me
okay.
heaps of confidence to like say something scary. Um, I don't know. That's always worked for me. Like in a like tough staff management call or something sometimes, because I find that difficult as well. Like holding space, giving a stern, bit of feedback or having a robust conversation, as my mentor used to call it. Um, so yeah, that's one little trick. Get the mean stuff in an email in early and then don't even look at them on the call during the
Yeah,
hard.
that's actually excellent because then you're working with where you're at. You're not trying to do this entire healing journey when you need to get on a call in 5 minutes. Like, here's some tools to get you through it. You can do your healing a little later.
Yeah, a couple of tactics, and that's
Yeah,
okay. Like it's like I work with a behavioral strategy coach, and it's all about, it's not I suck or I used to put myself into a lot of guilt, pain, shame cycles and kind of go down the rabbit hole, getting really disenchanted and demotivated and upset. And then I would spend like 10 hours on YouTube just like avoiding. Whereas and for things like that, why can't I just like man up and just do it? Like, what's wrong with me? Blah, blah. But then it's kind of like, oh, like it makes a lot of sense that I'm like this. I'm kind of like a kind person internally. And if I'm not aggravated and really upset with someone where I go the other way in the pendulum, like I have that in me, but I just find it really difficult. That's okay. Like I'm using these, it's pretty smart of me to use these strategies to get through, so just to try to make sense of things rather than make them bad. Um,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's that reparenting of. I have a super strong inner critic, always fixing myself, always
really. Yeah.
uh, self-flagellation, like just whipping the shit out of yourself when you get something wrong or it's not happening as fast as you want it to. And then I'll be the person who goes 10 hours of YouTube drilling myself with the information that I need to get it right, and then obsess with it and not sleep and just
Yeah.
get into a real cycle of workaholism and badgering. And that took me to the C-suite of corporate, and that's where it dropped me.
Right. Wow. Where did that come from? Have you like done that? Do you have like an understanding of where that came from?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I
Okay.
yeah. I've looked at a lot of it. I grew up Jehovah's Witness, so that's part of the culture of that religion. And then or any Christian fundamentalist religion is going to teach you that you're a sinner and you should always be trying to do better, and God is always watching and always disappointed,
Oh,
and then Satan's evil and he's trying to ruin your life and tempt you. So if you have like any joy or pleasure around something, that's just Satan trying to tempt you. That's not a good thing. Don't trust your body.
oh no.
It's a lot.
No, that is a lot.
Yeah.
That
And
is a
then,
lot.
add in parents that would be attracted to a religion like that. They both have pretty low self-esteem. They would have to be allowing themselves to be advised in that way, and their children to be programmed from birth with those kind of beliefs.
Mm.
They were struggling with their own, self-worth, and so they pass it on, and that's what happens generation after generation. We keep doing it because it's all we know.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It's isn't it's so interesting. I feel like people that have this really deep understanding, like my you'd love my coach Mike. He talks about generational trauma as kind of the primary modality of how we flow, and like it's kind of up to each of us to break that cycle and work through it, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but and I've talked to a couple other people that are like very aligned, clear individuals, and they've got a pretty similar, a really similar viewpoint. That's where it comes back to. Yeah, that's really interesting. That's kind of what I when I think about my journey, I think if I'd gone like if at the fork in the road, and I think it was probably inevitable that I was going to destroy everything. Like I kept building these million-dollar businesses and destroying them because I didn't have the self-worth structures to like hold on to it.
Yeah.
You don't make $3 million businesses three times in a row, lose them all, but never fail, unless there's like some sort of internal barometer. That's like a barometer thing, you know.
Yeah.
That's like,
Yeah.
um, and then, but I just kind of, and I used to kind of hate myself for it. And then one of the reframes was like, yeah, but if you'd continued on that for journey that first time and been like, I'm the man, I was very egotistical and controlling and douchey, and I'm still some of those things to some degree, whatever. But it was like mostly me. Like I just don't think I would have enjoyed or liked the person I would have become. I had enough to kind of satiate the pain, but I didn't have to actually go into it and like try and resolve and get to a point where I could um actually break free of these patterns and be, yeah, like I don't know, a lot like I like that word aligned, or just free, like almost like free, like to like get some free will back, where I make the decisions about how I'm gonna transit this little thing we call life.
Yeah, because otherwise your inner child that's in pain is the one running the show and making all the decisions and
Yeah.
burning shit down.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's interesting you bring, yeah, I had like a, so I was always initially, right? I'm pretty like fanatically logical, and I fucking love numbers and it all lines up and all that stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, and a child's so a bit woo woo, isn't it? Like, like very much like that.
Yeah.
And then yeah, as I started to work with this, I had an experience like 3 or 4 weeks ago, specifically, where we did this inner child integrative meditation, and I went into it like pent up, anxious, stressed. I was having like all this pain. I almost canceled the session like 5 times, and I just got myself to the call, and I was really niggly. And we did this integration, and we went in and had this, we unpacked this experience I'd had through my life, where I was kind of like always very, very intelligent. I was playing real-time strategy games on the computer at like 2 before kindergarten, and like really smart. And so my whole life, parents and family and school teachers, every report I'd ever had was like, wasting his potential, full of potential, full of potential. Like there was this massive story around, um, like Simon has the most potential out of anyone like we've ever seen, etc. And so that was a story that kind of started at, I guess, 3 years old and went all the way through. And then even in my first business, like, boom, set it up, sell half from 1.1 mil at like, 22, 23. Everyone's going, whoa, like potential, potential, potential. And then so we started to, it was in that moment through that integration, we unpacked like this potential had kind of been drilled into that child as the most important thing. And then whether I'm ADHD or whatever, I don't really like the labels, but I definitely am pretty intense and find it difficult to concentrate at the start of anything. And so then it was like, all right, you've got all this potential, but to unlock it, you've got to do your work, study harder, sit quietly after you've finished your test early, and do your
Mm,
homework, which I hated. Those things
yeah.
were pain. It was like, okay, so to
Mhm.
fulfill my potential equals pain, right?
Yeah.
And my potential is the most important thing about me. So now I've got this myth of potential, which the only way to maintain is if I never fully step into it, right? The only way to guarantee, even if you're 99% likely to, if you can build $1 million business your first time at 22, 23, you can probably build a $50, $100 million company in the next 10 years. Like if you
Yeah.
just step into it and do it. But even if that's a 99% probability, if the most important thing is your myth of potential, that's still a risk. Because if you put it all in there and it fails, then what have you got? You're left with your potential's gone. It was a story. And so kind of like unpacked that. And it like finally kind of clicked together, like fulfilling potential equals pain. And the only way to guarantee that your potential is real. And I started to like look at it in areas of my life. Like I started doing amateur kickboxing, and I've had 3 fights. Two of them I took short notice. Two of them I was smoking marijuana before. I was going to take my fourth fight with a broken ankle from my third fight, and everyone's like, whoa, you're so like that's so crazy. You're so hardcore. Like, what the fuck? No one does that. And it's like, yeah, 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 yeah. But
Yeah.
actually, like at the meta level, it's like I'm doing it because I'm scared to do a 10-week camp, turn up on point, put everything I have into it, and then what if I lose? Like the loss I had was like, oh yeah, but you're still the man, like 1 week's notice. And I took it at a weight class like 6 kilos heavier. So it's like
Mm,
like every disadvantage,
yeah.
you start to unpack that everywhere, and then literally where my body would go into this sort of paralyzed YouTube, like almost catatonic state, would be right at that moment where it was like time to to step in and figure it out. Anyway, all of that to say, I had this integrative meditation, gave my inner child a hug, had the whole moment, and came out like um different. Went in and literally came out, and it was a complete shift. And that's I've been doing the work, but that for me was like, oh, this is real. Like it was so distinct and tangible to have that experience of integrate going in basically paralyzed in a full cloud in my frontal lobe, and like heavy in my shoulders, and that little feeling like just below the sternum, like all of the things. And then came out without it, apologized to a team member who had been a dick to, and then just like got on with the high priority task. And it was like, whoa, like what just happened? Anyway,
Yeah.
another little rant for you, but I kind of wanted to share that because I had to like it was actually a friend that got me into it that was like, you need to work with this guy and do this stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. And he's like, it's worked for me. I'm like, okay, I'm going to trust that process. I'm going to do it. And now that I got that sort of tangible result to unlock that understanding and then integrate it, um, yeah, I tell everyone now. I'm like, it's one of the
Yeah.
reasons why I wanted to be on here. I wanted to be like, just do the work. Like I spent 13 years smashing my head against a wall, like
Yeah.
against the ceiling. And now, um, after doing this work for kind of 6 months, it's like, oh my gosh, why was I playing on hard mode? Like, why was I playing the game on nightmare mode?
Yeah, absolutely. And that inner child is just scared of what am I without that story of not meeting my potential. And like you gave the inner child a hug and then you assured you're loved either way, right? You know, whatever
Loved either
you
way.
needed to say to reassure them that they were still valid and would exist without that story of
Yeah,
not
what we
quite meeting the
said was,
potential.
yeah, what we said was it's okay to be you. So like it's okay to not try and reach the potential or maximize it or protect it. Just show up and be yourself, whatever that is. And it turns out when I just show up and be myself, like I win. Because like didn't most
Yeah,
people do, right?
yeah,
So it was that simple. Like it's okay to be you, man. It's just like all the stories, like it's okay to be you. And then I just try and I've still had moments. It's got freaky, like I've gone a bit, sorry if I'm just ranting and raving here,
no,
but
you're
I
good.
got a bit left to center, or I had a moment, I had like a day a couple of days ago where I just kind of woke up and it was almost like a test. It was like the internal story was different. I was feeling down and just it was hard and I wanted to cancel my meetings. And one of my things my whole life has been just like cancel all the meetings, come up with an excuse and like figure it out the next day. And it was just like, hmm, no, like I think we're all good. I think we've been through this. I think we've done that whole thing. I think we're actually okay. I think it's okay to be me. I think it's okay to turn up and like not be, not have every answer immediately on point. Boof, 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 boof. Did my first
Yeah,
meeting. How are you going? I was feeling a bit niggly this morning, but like it's all good. So I might be a bit off. 10 minutes into that consulting call, on fire again, and then the day takes care of itself. So just like instead of
exactly.
getting into it and being like, oh my, you've woken up pressed again. You sucked, man. Fuck, how are you gonna reach your potential this way? It's easy. You've got all the capability. Why aren't you just doing it? You know? Um,
Yeah,
yeah, it's just like, okay, well, guess we're a bit off today, but like we'll probably be sweet tomorrow. Or today, whenever. We'll just be ourselves.
yeah,
Like just show up.
yeah. Just showing up exactly. It's the exhaustion, like that burnout, that exhaustion that drives you to cancel that meeting is this feeling that you have to show up and act like this egotistical, got it all under control person that you are not, right?
Yeah, that you are not. Yeah, that's like, because that's not me. That's who is that? Is that anyone?
No, nobody's
Oh,
really
there you
that.
go.
That's always an act,
Yeah,
so yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome. I think that is actually really helpful for listeners to hear that whole process and the breaking down of that story. And
And I tried everything. I did like earlier on, I wanted the quick fix. I wanted to, so I'm just setting up a little thing here. Um, I so it was I did a 7 day ayahuasca retreat and that was cool and like the ceremonies and poof, and that was it was valuable and it added to the story. And then I did some heroic doses with psilocybin and I microdosed a lot and um that but I just wanted the shortcut. Like I wanted to go and do the thing, get the healing and like be fixed.
yeah, yeah,
And I was like, oh, it didn't, I was kind of, um, and then it was like, oh, I've done ultra marathons and the kickboxing but I think overall it's all come together as
yeah,
like a base, as like a base of like this a lot more, um, sort of, I think mental toughness is kind of an ingredient to the whole thing because it's quite difficult to like stay the course and go through those experiences almost and talk yourself
it
down off the
is.
cliff. Like
Yeah,
it's a lot easier to let the emotions like flow and just go with it.
yeah,
Um, so I think that's all part of the recipe for me at least. But yeah, just actually finally going and working with someone to go and figure out that story, like, and whether or not, whether or not, I want to say this as well, because I think it's true. I truly believe it. But whether or not that myth of potential story is even true, it aligns, it makes sense. I believe it. Perception is reality, belief
yeah,
is reality. So, like, it, even if it wasn't factually correct, it doesn't even matter.
right.
And so, yeah, doing that one-on-one work with someone who could help me find that, see that, and then integrate it, I think is the most important thing. I'll ever do. And everyone says this, all the $10 million guys, $100 million guys, $1 billion guys, it's all mindset, but you don't believe it. You're like,
No.
yeah, are you sure there's not a tactical funnel? Is there not a new funnel I could run that could just circumvent that? And like, because this guy's like, he can get me leads for $2 that convert like fire. And
Yeah.
I'll have like 30 bookings a month. You know,
Yeah.
like, and like you're like hack, hack, hack. Okay, 13 years, like, nah, do the work. Doesn't even take that long, like 9 months,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
so worth it. 33, like still like early enough, like even if you do it at 55, it's 70, it doesn't matter. It's early, it's still early enough, right?
Yeah,
Um,
and it does break that cycle and that pattern. You talked about grit and perseverance and like all these different modalities being the recipe and the foundation. I mean, because I've done the same. And it's funny that we kind of come to the inner child work and the breaking down of the stories after we've done these really hard, like I've done temescals and ayahuasca ceremonies and psilocybin ceremonies and breath work and intensive like circling with other people and learning active listening and all this trauma work,
yeah,
but it does build the case. So then finally when you go and you talk with that inner child, it like builds the case for you that, hey, I'm an adult and I did all this stuff and I survived it and I have the mental toughness to get through it, so you can trust me.
yeah, wow, yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, it builds the case. That's your evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You show up early and go, hey, like, it's all good. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
what have you, yeah, but what have you done? Like, there's like that, like a feeling in the back. Yeah, interesting. And do you
Yeah.
think some of us maybe have to like really build the evidence? Like, yeah, like have to cross every T and dot every I
I think
before.
the more intelligent a person is, or the more like intense they are about mental, like learning and trusting their mind, that the more evidence that is needed. Because also our society points that all of the value in life is making money. So if you're in a spot right now where you've just lost all the money, there's no evidence. So you have to do all this other stuff, and then you've built that evidence, and now you have to reassure your inner child that the story that society told him or her about money being the only thing that is a measure of worth is also not true.
Mm.
So there's just I think that's kind of ties into it.
Yeah, totally. Well, and yeah, the barometer, right? The barometer for success is cash. Because that's definitely what I wanted. I based all my self-worth on this kind of I can make money really quick. I've got all this potential. That was kind of like those were the pillars. Um, and then yeah, I suppose now I like that, like I garden and I have some actual hobbies that I enjoy and I
Yeah.
do some difficult things and I've got a partner and she made a massive impact as well because she's like I've had ups and downs with her and she's kind of just there and loves me anyway. So it's like that's weird, like internal thoughts like that's weird. Why is she like that? Well, who would love me? You catch and then you start to see it. I guess you start to just see it more. But yeah, I'm really glad that I had a friend that kind of was able to use their experience and growth to push me into getting started, you know, um, because and yeah, I don't know if it's for everyone. I don't know if it's like the right time always, but I definitely I like got a couple of people in my life where I am like this will work with for you and it's the right time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you can just tell. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a human nature pushback on it too, right? Because we want like the immediate reward. So like an undetermined long-term reward. And generally this type of work is like not cheap because if you're able to unlock people's inner child so they can reach their potential and achieve more, like that's a high value program. So there's this like resistance to the inner work because of the indeterminate long-term outcome
Yeah.
and upfront cost.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, which is tough.
Yeah. As a coach, when I'm selling, either coaching packages or courses, because of my programming around, Western society and the money, what's my ROI? What's the ROI? How can I express to the potential client what the ROI is? Well, I don't have a dollar amount ROI I can promise. So I've found a lot of hiding and resistance in my marketing because I couldn't make that tangible promise. And if I didn't, and so then I would go back to, well, why did I do it? I didn't have a tangible promise about an ROI, but it was one of those stories that I had going in my head that was false. That a
Mm.
client doesn't want to do the work because there's no ROI. Initially you do feel that way. Most people do. They're like, yeah, inner work, I don't know. I'm not mentally ill. Like, I'm not mentally weak. I don't need, my mental health is fine. Like,
Yeah. 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 Is it? Is it?
yeah, it's
Yeah, it's interesting. There are people though, like I've met them and they're just sweet. Or at least I'm pretty sure they actually are, like they're just pretty, like maybe not like no one's perfect, but they're
right.
like overall like just kind of like going through the fire and they like have the family and do the job and they quite like the job and that like things just like flowing, you know?
Yeah.
Must
Yeah.
be nice.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
so funny.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Like I think going back to that initial thing when you're if you're it's been hard as an internet on. I think it's been harder being a B2B internet entrepreneur with that found all of that like marketing stuff quite icky. Like and you're competing against people that are like work with me, I'll unlock your mind, 90 days guaranteed, will triple your money, blah blah. It like if you haven't wanted to play that game at all because it just didn't sit right, it's been difficult. But I think the tide's changing. You know, I think there's been enough of that, and there's been enough people that have been like, yeah, didn't get that outcome.
Yeah.
That the like anti message of just of just like direct, clear, simple marketing, like just articulate, like making, like getting to the point where someone trusts you enough in your methodology. Things like this podcast is like a good format, right? For someone that wants to that has like that genuine need to help, that has a genuine like it's like help first, I get paid for my value versus like how do I maximize the cash that I can pull out of this transaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, it's nice to see that, like, on the format of a podcast you can see the person's humanity and what they are, and then it's not so much like, oh, I'm just working with a machine. I think a lot of what we see is like promising that you hire us and we're just going to take care of all of it for you, whereas in your format you're teaching them and empowering them to get it set up and take it from there, because their products and services are going to change. They're going to have to tweak their message. They're going to have to, the trends in marketing algorithms, things change. And so having
Yeah.
that foundation, that education, that understanding of how to get it done, I think we all would like somebody, going back to what you said about the quick fix, like, we want somebody to just take it over and handle it for us. We don't want to do the work. We don't want the accountability of it. But ultimately, we have to do our own work. We are accountable to ourselves and our own results. And so when we're hiring any company, ultimately we have to understand that we're going to have to do some work. They're not going to, like, when you hire an agency and you have to explain to them your whole story and all the things that you offer and why and who, and like, that's work. You think you're going to skip over that, then you're definitely not going to get results. So any company
Mm.
that's telling you that you're not going to have to do anything, it's just not being honest.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's usually related to revenue, right? It's because that's the biggest fear. That's where the most rejection is. I want someone to take over and just like get all the sales, like my products good bits. That's the hard, it's also the hard bit. Nothing happens until someone sells something. Is a really, I love that. I love that saying. And so I just, yeah, the agencies were never really getting people brilliant results anyway. Like the last 10, 15 years has been the leverage, the baked in leverage and efficiency of the platform and the cost of the CPMs and the conversion rates of the user base there. And that's been normalized to some degree, right? But to a significant degree. And so, yeah, I think to give people their dues or whatever, like it's almost like everyone got drunk on that, like got drunk on this idea of like it was possible. And there were for the last 10 years, there's been story after story after story of like I just work with these people, we did this ad thing, and then like the business blew up. I have that a lot in e-commerce, and I spend a lot of my time explaining to people now, like, you know, you can still build a brand. You've been able to build a brand for 5,000 years, and I assume you'll be able to build a brand until the robots take over and they tell us what the brands are that we're going to engage with. And so, um, but what you can't do anymore is do e-com. You know, people were kind of I got a product, I set up my Shopify store, I run my Facebook ads, I'm making money. It's like that's gone. So we talk about like how are we building a value proposition and offering with like a strict guarantee in it because our product and the experience is that good. How do we surprise and delight the customer with something that comes with their order that wasn't part of their order, like we were talking with a there's a brand of hotels, DoubleTree, and in their hotel they have this little cookie machines, and like you put the dough in and you like bake your own little cookie, and it's just this like experience. But 80% of people will post it on their story, send it to a friend, send it to mum, whatever, and it's worth billions of dollars in marketing. Um, and so that's their surprise and delight. What does that look like? Do you call your customers? You call your first 1,000 customers? The e-com brand's like, no, we don't call our customers. I'm like, well, that's what everyone used to do. They used to talk to their customers. Like maybe
Yeah.
we should talk to the customer, ask for a referral, get it and lock in that returning customer. You know, I think people are drunk on the story of I do Facebook ads, I set up my automations, and like this thing just prints money and it's super impersonal. But my view is that like that worked and now it stopped working and we're back to building brands the old-fashioned way with like real, truly standout products, guarantees, connection with the customer, all bits. And if you're willing to do that, you can still win. And in fact, like, you know, it's more of a winner take all scenario now because it's not as level of a playing field because not everyone's willing to do that stuff, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah,
These
that's at least how I play.
transactions are, we've become with smartphones and internet and technology really isolated and lonely as people, and we've changed our relationships into these transactional things. And the thing we have to remember is that transactions don't happen without a relationship. I mean, that's what transactions are. It's like two parties or more um, exchanging value. And so when we want to remove ourselves from it, like what we need to think about is why am I trying to remove myself from my business, and why is it that my ads are not working? it's probably because of some of those stories that we've had going on in our head about not being worthy, not being willing to take the action to put yourself out there to be seen by your customer and possibly rejected. We get really afraid of those things. And so if you are working with an agency and they're doing that kind of work and you're kind of not showing up, you're also not going to get results, because you've got to go and do that inner work to break down those stories and tell your inner child that it's safe to be seen and intimacy is not dangerous and rejection is not going to kill you.
Yeah. Do you see consistent themes across the entrepreneurs in terms of like does it all coalesce to some degree? Like these different fractions or different experiences that people have gone through, but it kind of comes together. What am I trying to say here? Like do people's experiences that they've had, um, do people's wildly different experiences that they've had throughout their childhood and as they're growing up, does it manifest differently for everyone, or does it all come to some pretty similar places, or maybe a couple of buckets? Like,
Yeah,
is it which one is it?
it's consistent. Like little details will be different, but ultimately I think the very core inner wound from childhood is the fear of abandonment. And that is because as a baby, if you're abandoned, you will die. Human children are incapable of survival without caregivers. We're actually born premature. Our body, like our heads are way bigger than our bodies. So all kinds of
Right.
reasons why we must have caregivers. And even in infancy, if a caregiver makes a weird face when they're changing your diaper, you can feel this rejection. You can get this sense of there's something wrong with me. And we internalize it very early. So you don't have to have a major traumatic experience in childhood. Just your parent saying that you were bad for spilling the milk and like way overreacting um, threatens your survival. So
Right.
yeah, so the amygdala in our brain is just wired for survival, and so we get these little experiences, and then we believe ultimately that we're going to be abandoned, and we never deal with the fact that I'm an adult, I'm not a child. Even if I am abandoned, I can survive, I can take care of myself. But the truth is, humans are social creatures. We survive in communities and tribes, and
Mhm.
if you believe in oneness, we're all one. We do need each other. So we're always feeling threatened by this abandonment, and it comes up constantly. And so it manifests in avoidance of intimacy and just fear of intimacy, because that potential for rejection, you remember how it felt every time you were chastised as a child or rejected by somebody. And and as an adult in business, you start to get rejected. It doesn't, if you do enough of it, it it doesn't kill you. You realize, oh,
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Yeah. So that existential crisis that you're having as a baby and a child, the emotional resistance that comes up to getting on the camera, doing the ad, closing the deal, whatever, even if you genuinely believe that you can help the person, is that emotional resistance is coming from you basically reliving that existential crisis because you haven't got to the point where you've said like, no, that's not happening here. Like we're not, like it's okay to get abandoned or rejected by this person. Like we'll survive in our new form. Let's
Yeah,
just do it anyway. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. People haven't looked at it because I don't know. I think inner child work has largely been like poo-pooed, or like, oh, you know, if people have heard of it. I mean, when I was growing up, any kind of therapy or mental health work was absolutely shameful and ridiculous. Like it meant something was wrong with you. So, um,
Yeah, which is no good. Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I like I said, I don't know if I can go and turn up and just do the inner child work 8 years ago. Would have been nice to have tried it. But I definitely feel like if the fitness activities and the accountability with my mentors and the new why with my partner and all of that, if that's the foundation of where I'm going in my life today, then the inner child work is like, or if that's like the kindling, like then it's the match. It's kind of like this thing that's going to extract the potential of that foundation
Yeah.
um rapidly. That's what I'm experiencing right now.
Yeah, I think it's pretty amazing. And I don't know, it's great to see people have those breakthroughs. Like it can be intense with how much of it needs to be done for some of us.
It's a big journey, right? It's a big hill to climb, but it's like is the hill worth it to you? Like,
Oh
and I
yeah,
think it
yeah,
is because I reckon, like, cosmically irrelevant, perhaps this life that we live, but ultimately precious. Like, you can I got lost in the nihilism of like, oh, what does it matter? And we're just a speck of dust on a planet, and we're an evolved monkey or whatever, all of that stuff.
yeah.
But then you're
I
like,
did
yeah,
too.
but even if that's true, like these moments, like they're pretty special. Like that, like ultimately at the end of the day, you may as well max this out.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
there's so much pleasure and delight to be had if you can allow yourself to have it. And you're the way you get there is through vulnerability and being telling the truth and being as authentic as you possibly can. Like as you peel back these layers, you really, I mean, just finding out who you are is amazing in itself. As long as you're not telling yourself that that's egotistical to find out who you are and be delighted by that. You know, we're so taught that that's like cocky and how dare you think so highly of yourself.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it is a delightful journey to find out who you really are.
yeah, yeah. That's even an interesting theme, but maybe that's a topic for next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to jump off again. Yeah, but hey,
That's a good one.
yeah, is there any like any final questions or anything that you had for me?
Um, yes. Where can people find you?
Yeah, sure. You can find me on Instagram and YouTube, Simon John Phillips. You have to look for me hard on YouTube though, because there's this famous drummer that's got my name. And so
Ah,
pretty hard to find me on there, but on Instagram and Twitter and stuff. Um, yeah, I'm doing more content. I'm figuring it out now. I'm finally back in the game. Yeah, thanks to I
awesome.
think the work.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll put the links in the show notes for where people can find you, follow you, work with you. And thanks so much for sharing your journey and being here today.
Yeah, cool. It was such a great conversation. Hopefully we can chat again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
There's
cool.
plenty more to talk about.
Brilliant.
All right. Have a great day.
See you later. Bye.